call to order the September 19th meeting of the Battle Creek City Commission. You are able to please rise for the invocation, and then Commissioner Ballard will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Ballard.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is roll call. Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Ballard.
Present.
Commissioner Lance.
Here.
Commissioner Morris. Here. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Present.
Commissioner Simmons.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Present.
Vice Mayor Sophia.
Here.
And Mayor Banky let us know he was absent.
He's traveling, yes, thank you. The next item on our agenda is a presentation, and I will turn it over to Rebecca to make the introductions, although I don't think they need much of an introduction.
It's so true. Thank you, Vice Mayor and Commissioners. As you know, we try to do staff presentations at least once a month. I don't know if you can call this drawing the short straw for this meeting. I don't know, but we do that annually in January, and it is the police department's turn. And you're right, they don't need any really formal introduction, but I'm really happy to see Chief Bagley, Deputy Chief Bagwell, and Deputy Chief Bush. And I struggle with the B's in the Chief's department, and so I have to pause a moment. The 3 B's are here tonight. And so, Chief Bagley, it's all yours.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, good evening, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Not only, introductions are, thank you, City Manager, for that, but the 2 behind me need no introduction. They've served this community for both over 24 years now, and I'm very fortunate that they decided to jump on the team and support me and the city and this organization. So without further ado, we'll get into it. Deputy Chief Bagwell is going to speak to you tonight about our operations division, which covers patrol and other aspects, and Deputy Chief Steve Bush will be speaking to the investigation side of the house. So they've got some information to share, and we'll be able to answer a few questions if it's generated as a result of this information. So without further ado, Deputy Chief Bagwell.
Well, good evening. So this is going to be very brief on our day-to-day operations. So if we can go to the first slide, please.
Next slide.
Our next slide.
Okay.
One more. There we go. So regarding staffing, I'm happy to report that we are in the best position we have been in 5 years. We are currently at 95% of our authorized personnel. However, we still face some challenges with people being away, either actively deployed or medical. And we know next year we have 5 people that are still eligible to retire. We do have some of our cadets slated to attend the Regional Academy starting in January to help offset these retirements. So overall, we're doing better than most agencies in our area. Next slide. So now that we're getting closer back to normal staffing levels, we are able to focus on being more proactive rather than just reactive. As this slide shows, our self-initiated events, things like business checks, foot patrols, community engagement, and traffic stops, equals almost half of our regular call load for regular calls for service. So what this tells me is that officers are having more time in between calls, and they're using that in a productive way to do things like traffic enforcement. To put this in perspective, last year at this same time frame, we had conducted 1,400 traffic stops, and this year we're over 6,800. That's awesome. So next slide, please. So it's been just over 13 months since we launched Spider Tech, which is our text notification system. Basically, when you call 911 dispatch, you'll receive a text acknowledging your call for service. And it'll also provide status updates if there was a delay in response due to call load. And if you're a victim of a crime, it'll track the progress of your case up to the arrest of the offender. But it also provides the citizen the opportunity to complete a survey and rate our quality of service. And as you can see on the 3 main categories of overall satisfaction with the department, response time and officer professionalism, we're between 4 and 4.5 out of a scale of 5. Next slide. Lastly, I just want to take the opportunity to introduce you to our new uniform of the day. Officers still have the option to wear the uniform we're wearing right now, and in some cases, they're required to do so. We started this process about 18 months ago, but just recently implemented it due to supply chain issues. This uniform is more comfortable, it's more durable. One of my favorite reasons is it's half the price of a traditional uniform. And believe it or not, it's a great recruiting tool. One of the top questions we get asked by some of our candidates is not about pay and benefits, but they want to know what shifts we work, meaning 8s, 10s, or 12s, and what style of uniform you wear. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of other agencies switch to this style of uniform. So that's basically it for operational side. I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief Steve Bush to talk about investigations.
Mayor, I do have a question for him. You mentioned that the traffic stops are at 6,326 traffic stops. How does that compare to prior to COVID, say 2019?
That I don't know without actually looking. I would say it's probably close to the same.
Okay.
So,
All right, if you could check that and
yeah,
let
we
me
can
know.
check
Thank
that.
you very much.
Yep.
Good evening. Obviously, I'll be doing Investigations Division. So really what was notable in investigations is historically, we've always had a lieutenant in charge of investigations, and it's really been your special units like your Crime Lab Detective Bureau. Over time, it's grown into gang suppression unit, highway hotel interdiction team, so we keep expanding it. Well then and I'll get into the COPS program in here in just a minute, but with the advent of the COPS program, knowing that they're going to utilize a lot of our investigative resources, we decided that we would combine our community services program along with our COPS program, bring them up into investigations, and really fold them under the umbrella of community services and our Community Fusion Center. So with that, and I'll get into the COPS program here in just a minute. So what we've done is we've created this community services division of our investigation wing, and it's literally a community services wing that we have now dedicated to that. In that wing, we also have our victim advocate program, which has been hugely successful. It started 3 years ago. It was a grant-funded position, and we've been met with such success that we, as a city, picked up that position. We took the victim advocate, made her a victim advocate coordinator in hopes to grow the program out. So it's been great success. She built it from the ground up, and can't say enough about that program. And now we'll get into the COPS. So next slide, please. So this is our Fusion Center partners, and our community-oriented police officers are really going to be using all these partners, if not more. Next slide, please. So Investigation Division, community-oriented police officers. What we had is a grant or actually 2 grants that were awarded to us from Department of Justice. There's 75-25 grants, so we matched 25%, and then that last 2 years, we fund them 100%, so it's a 5-year commitment. What their focus has always been, is really to get into the neighborhoods and to find out what the crime and disorder problems are, and really quality of life. As we know, when we go to, most of our calls for service are not criminal in nature. They're really more quality of life issues or civil, there's things that law enforcement isn't necessarily the best fit for this. So it's really getting those COPS officers into these neighborhoods, trying to identify these problems and figure out, is there other resources that could be the better fit for this? And then marrying up the community with those resources. Again, super engaging. Next slide, and you can see our COPS officers, they were broken down by NPCs. So that's them if you haven't met them. I'm sure they're in your neighborhoods on a regular basis. And then that pie chart, I apologize, some of the colors are pretty similar, but really what's that highlighting is the amount of work that they are doing out in the community, and it shows that we are actually doing our due diligence to track that information so that if either community members and or the grant, for grant reporting purposes, we know what they're doing. So, that's it. Question?
Compliment. I was at the ULABA luncheon today, which is the businesses for Level Park and Urbandale.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to give you kudos on the police department and what you've been able to accomplish out there. And they're very thrilled with the COPS program.
Good.
And the people. Officer Rose is doing a fantastic job.
Perfect.
And they also want to compliment DPW. So, because they put up our lights and stuff at Christmas time. So thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Well, I know we covered quite a bit of information rather quickly. But we were told 10 minutes, so I think we hit that mark. But any questions before we wrap things up on anything that we covered?
Commissioner Reynolds?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to say, I just appreciate your presence in our community and all the different events. I was actually at the event Saturday at Lila Arboretum and had conversations with the officers that were present, and it was just a good time, and just really appreciate your presence.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Commissioner Simmons?
I do want to acknowledge that, that's fine, that the stepping up of the traffic enforcement has not gone unnoticed. Many times in the evening will see the lights right in front of my house. I live on a pretty busy street, so, and in the neighborhoods. Of course, we have the construction going on the south side with the Capitol Avenue Bridge over 94, and there was quite a bit of enforcement in the residential streets between Capitol and Riverside, and I saw quite a few people stopping. In fact, I normally get complaints like, why aren't the police out here stopping people? I got a complaint that, hey, I got stopped over there. I'm like, I am not apologizing for that. But in many cases, it wasn't to give someone a ticket. It was just for an informational, hey, you can't go through here if you don't live in this neighborhood. And I hear that a lot, that it's not an aggressive or kind of confrontational, hostile situation. Many times it's just an educational from your officers, and I really like to hear that. And then hopefully whoever they stop, cease and desist, whatever they were doing that they shouldn't have been. So, but it hasn't gone unnoticed, and thank you very much. And
Thank you.
I heard great things about you, and it's not just you, I know it's all your staff, but since you've taken over the department, I've heard a lot of positive feedback.
Well, I appreciate that. Again, I really can't take really any credit. I have a fantastic team. It's not just the two people behind me, but that entire organization. It's about people that care. And traffic has been a hot button issue. It is a hot button issue, you know, kind of throughout Southwest Michigan. And, you know, Battle Creek's pretty unique. You know, we're the third largest city in the state geographically, 44 square miles. We also contract with Bedford, which is 36 square miles. So you're talking over 70 square miles of road to patrol. And on our best day, we patrol it with 9 police officers on the street and 2 sergeants. So, and that doesn't include calls for service, trainings, court. So sometimes it's a challenge, right? We are going to these areas as best we can to address some of the VRDL issues, and but you know, they're knocking it out of the park. And the implementation of the cops office has really helped us kind of offset some of those issues or problems areas that we have. So I appreciate you in your comments as well. So,
Anything else? With regard to Spider Tech
yeah.
and the surveys that come, because I've filled out some of these surveys.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes the survey comes before there's any, I've had the survey show up without ever having contact with PD, so.
Really?
Yes.
So that's all generated, it's a CAD generated system.
Yep.
And that's, I won't say it's a glitch, but because it's CAD generated, if the officer gets diverted to a progress or sometimes that's going to happen. It's not perfect, but we'll be working with the vendor to see how we might be able to address that. So.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank
Deputy
you.
Chiefs.
Appreciate it.
The next item on the agenda is petitions, communications, and reports.
There were none.
Very good. And then Chair noting any added or deleted resolutions.
There were none.
Very good. The next item on our agenda is public comment regarding consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda. If you'd like to make public comment regarding the consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda, please raise your hand and I will acknowledge you to come forward to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. Please state your name and address before beginning your comment and indicate which resolution you are speaking to. Are there any public comments? John?
John Kennevic, 234 South Avenue. I'm going to be speaking in regards to Resolution 243, a resolution appointing Commissioner Janessa Morris for the Michigan Municipal League. I know a little bit about this, and I'm going to give you some information, citizens of Battle Creek, in regards to what actually happens. The city government will send in a representative to the Michigan Municipal League. It sounds kind of impressive, and it sounds like they're going to try to talk and resolve concerns when they have their meeting. The opposite, basically, it's the opposite of that. They'll discuss things of how to give you cost increases. For example, you may go up to the, I can't even pronounce it, municipal league, and you might hear somebody from another city that's also a member saying, well, we put in parking meters so we can get more money, and if they don't, their time runs out, we can cite them and give them a ticket. And so you might come back and say, oh, let's do that. Or they may ask you, what are you doing in Battle Creek? And you might say, well, we had this for for-profit donation boxes. We decided to charge them a $25 fee. Most of them left, so we jacked up the fee to $65 for the remaining amount, especially since the donation boxes weren't inflicting any will and were on private property. Now, I know a little something more about the Municipal League because many, many, many years ago, when Brian Kirkham was the mayor of Battle Creek, you sent a representative up to the Michigan Municipal League. And after a while, after it was all done, the Michigan Municipal League took your taxpayer dollars and other cities' taxpayer dollars and hired a public relations firm to come down to all the city commissions on a non-priority basis, not like this commission meeting, but a special commission meeting where you'd only listen. It happened in this chambers. And what did they talk about? The person that was paid to talk to you about how many cost increases you might consider from the Michigan Municipal League back then. So it was a game of, let's see what they're doing somewhere else. Maybe we can bring some of that stuff down here so that we can inflict that on the citizens and taxpayers of Battle Creek. So I suggest you rescind this or say it's not acceptable for Resolution 243. And you might want to consider withdrawing from the Michigan Municipal League because you're not really going to solve a problem except make matters worse for other citizens of other cities and our own. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, we will move on to commission comments regarding meeting business.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda.
Support.
Commissioner?
I was going to make a comment, but it's okay.
She can comment now.
All right, well, okay, so it's been moved and supported to approve the consent agenda. Commissioner Morris, would you like to?
Sure.
Okay.
So I just wanted to ask that you all support me on this Michigan Municipal League voters position. I think that in my experience at the Michigan Municipal League, I have learned a lot about what government is, what government does, and how I, as a commissioner, can support our city, and I would like to continue learning more about that.
Thank you. And thank you for being willing to do that. Commissioner Reynolds?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I will support you in that endeavor.
Are there any other commission comments?
Yeah, I do have one. I'm not sure if it's the proper place at this point, but I heard about the price going from 25 to 65 for donation boxes. And I want to say, what a mess those boxes are. In front of the Honor Credit Union and the Farm and Fleet, or the place out there in Urbandale, there's donations which say if you leave things outside of the box, it's a $1,000 fine, but they do all the time.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yep.
So we have a motion before us to approve the consent agenda. If there's no further discussion, would you please vote? The consent agenda has been approved. The next item on our agenda is Resolution 247. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Resolution 3 dated November 15, 2016, authorized a cooperative purchasing contract with HGAC Buy for the purchase of buying vehicles. There is no cost to be a part of this cooperative, which competitively bids large, specialized vehicle purchases on behalf of other government agencies. The Department of Public Works is in need of a combination sewer cleaner truck and requests to purchase using the HGAC Buy contract. The city's fleet services manager and engineering administrator have reviewed the proposal and specifications, and they both recommend purchasing a combination sewer cleaner truck from Frederickson Supply LLC using the HGAC Buy contract. This resolution, if approved, authorizes the city manager to execute contract number 2024-020C with Frederickson Supply LLC for the purchase of a new combination sewer cleaner truck. City manager or her designee is also authorized to execute change orders up to 10% in aggregate for city-initiated and pre-approved changes during this project.
I move for the approval of Resolution 247.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 247. Are there any commission comments, questions? Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I would just like to say that I really very much support this program and anything like it. Anytime we can achieve some economies of scale in this regard, especially in regard to purchasing, I think it's just great. And I would urge the city manager to continue to look for these opportunities. So thank you.
Any other commission comments? Seeing none, would you please vote? Resolution 247 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 248. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The city and Calhoun County are eligible for funds from the federal government for the fiscal year 2023-2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, or JAG. JAG program directives require both the city and county to sign an agreement acknowledging the JAG grant terms. If approved, this resolution authorizes the city manager to accept the fiscal year 2023-2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $62,367, the city's portion of which will be $52,115, and to act as the applicant, fiscal agent, and recipient of the JAG grant. The city manager is also authorized to sign the attached memorandum of understanding with Calhoun County or one with similar terms which meet the city attorney's approval.
I move for the approval of Resolution 248.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 248. Are there any commission comments, questions? Seeing none, would you please vote? Resolution 248 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 249. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The city recently issued a request for proposal seeking a consultant to develop an intentional plan for the enhancement and redevelopment of the Beckley Road corridor within the Lakeview Downtown Development Authority, or LDDA. The intent of the plan is to increase the economic vitality and desirability of this aging area of the city. The plan will enable a vibrant and sustainable live, work, and play environment, incorporating residential opportunities in proximity to a variety of day and nighttime uses, and amenities connected by a transportation network that allows for vehicle and pedestrian modes of travel to coexist while increasing and enhancing the presence of the natural environment throughout the corridor. If approved, this resolution accepts the proposal of best value for the preparation of a redevelopment plan for the Beckley Road corridor project from Progressive AE Incorporated in an estimated amount of $288,833 with unit prices prevailing. Additionally, approval authorizes the city manager to execute contract number 2024-001R and to execute up to 10% in aggregate for city-initiated and pre-approved changes that are not itemized in the contract.
I move for the approval of Resolution 249.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 249. Are there any commission comments, questions? Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Just one question for the Rebecca. I know we have a what looks like a ledger account here, but can we have some more information about where this $288,000 is coming from?
Sorry, I missed part of, did you ask about the funding for this?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Ted, you want to take that one?
Yeah, Commissioner, we're using some of our ARPA lost revenue funds that are set aside for general government purposes. And so this wouldn't be necessarily a project that was approved with the original ARPA funds, but lost revenue funds that can be used for general government purposes.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if you were asking for the GL, which I was going for. You were just asking.
I saw the GL number, yeah.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ballard?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Can you refresh, Rebecca, could you refresh my memory on the money that was talked about maybe 2 months ago on Lakeview Downtown Development District and where that money went?
I'm trying to think about what you might be referring to now. The Lakeview Downtown Development District is a TIF district, and I can't remember if we've recently talked about that plan. I mean, they had to submit an annual report. That was probably recently. I guess I'm not exactly sure specific what project, but we administer the LDDA, which is basically the Lakeview Square Mall, that area, and I think all of us can admit that's changing rapidly. Certainly, Horrocks has been a catalyst for that. And so we've been talking about the fact that that TIF district has been dormant for a long time, meaning the city collects the tax dollars, but we return them to the other taxing jurisdictions that are eligible for those because there's not been qualified projects there. So it has really been dormant except for the annual audit that we have to do. I'm thinking that may be the last time we talked about it, but please know that the Beckley Road study, which was just recently, which we were discussing, will also inform projects that may happen in that particular area that might benefit from using the TIF capture rather than returning it. Point I want to make is the city is probably the largest recipient of those tax dollars. So anything that we would use and put towards projects would then come out of the city's general fund, but that's just how TIFs work. This one just happens to be dormant. And we have really been trying to work with the mall also about thinking differently about their property. And some of it, I think, is just happening organically because of, I'll say, Horrocks has been a huge catalyst. I think that's why you're going to see some of those restaurants develop out front. And we want to make sure that we're being proactive about what that corridor should look like.
Okay. Sometimes I get confused about Beckley Road and Columbia Road, which I consider Lakeview. So how does Lakeview get into the Beckley corridor?
That's an excellent question, and I can't say that I was part of how that became that. I don't know if, Ted, you have anything to add?
yeah.
It's always been referred to
It just
as
seems
the
like two
LDDA.
different areas.
I know.
Yeah, when the township was still around, Battle Creek Township was still around, they established their own DDA, their own Downtown Development Authority, but they established it along the Beckley Road corridor. And so that's why we refer to that area as the Lakeview Downtown Development Authority.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, if you'd please vote. Resolution 249 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 250. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
On April 5th, 2023, the existing culvert over Wabascon Creek on Mason Avenue suffered damage due to high water levels from excessive rain in the preceding week. The city contacted Hoffman Brother Incorporated to perform emergency repairs to stabilize the culvert and allow for further assessment. After consulting with the city's structural engineering contractor, OHM Advisors, and Eagle, an intermediate solution was designed to address the problem. The city's administrative code allows exceptions for purchases outside of the competitive sealed bidding process in case of emergency repairs or replacements and when such procedures are deemed unnecessary and burdensome and not in the best interest of the city by the city manager. For safety purposes and based on Hoffman's familiarity with the project, staff is recommending an exception to the bidding process in this case. If approved, this resolution authorizes the city manager to execute contract number 2024-021C with Hoffman Brothers Incorporated in an estimated amount of $103,377.04 with unit prices prevailing. The city manager or her designee is also authorized to execute change orders up to 10% in aggregate of the total amount of the purchase for the pre-approved and city-initiated changes to the contract for items not itemized in the contract.
I move for the approval for Resolution 250.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 250. Are there any commission comments or questions? Commissioner Smith?
I'm sorry, Madam Vice Mayor. I just want to make sure, because it's in the weeds a little bit here. This is a prevailing wage job, right?
You know that.
I know there's some documentation on there. All right, thanks.
Thank you, I just had to make sure the engineer.
That's all, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 250? Resolution 250 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 251. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, acting as a Federal Aviation Administration FAA Block Grant Program participant, has executed an FAA grant known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, providing funding for projects at local airports. The city, as the airport sponsor, anticipates receiving a grant from the FAA under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. The grant is for rehabilitation and modifications to the airport tower rehabilitation lighting control and monitoring system, ALCMS. The federal share for the project is $118,344. There is no cost to the city. If approved, this resolution authorizes the city manager to execute MDOT sponsor contract number 2023-0660 for rehabilitation and modifications to the airport tower rehabilitation lighting control and monitoring system, ALCMS.
I move for the approval of Resolution 251.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 251. Are there any commission comments or questions? Seeing none, would you please vote? Resolution 251 has been approved. Last item on our agenda is Resolution 252. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
As permitted under the Michigan Open Meetings Act, a public body, upon a two-third majority vote, may meet in closed session in order to consult with its attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation, but only if an open meeting would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the public body. This resolution seeks approval to conduct a closed session on a legal matter.
I move for the approval of Resolution 252.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 252. Are there any commission comments or questions? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 252? Resolution 252 has been approved. The next item on our agenda is general public comment. If you would like to make general public comment regarding matters over which the City Commission has control, please raise your hand and wait for me to acknowledge you, and then come forward to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to make your comment. Please state your name and address prior to beginning your comment. Are there any general public comments? David?
Well, I say we witnessed the police tonight. They're a top priority of Battle Creek and great necessity. You gotta see them come up, send their programs and see what they're doing. I support the police department and people, good to see bring this up and people see what the police are doing. Because there's a great necessity to Battle Creek, one of the biggest necessities in our fire department. And I'm glad to see that be recognized tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Are there any other general public comments? Ma'am?
Mary Bourgeois, I live at 231 Springview Drive, and I'm in NPC 2, and I want to say how much I appreciate the presence of Corporal Gentry and Corporal Sean O'Brien at our monthly meetings, and I also really admire the way that Corporal O'Brien collaborates with code enforcement. It's beautiful the way that she's cleaning up the neighborhood. And I have a question, please. I'd like to know about the status of the CRB. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And then, Rebecca, can you get back with Mary at some point on that? And would you loop in the commission on that as well?
Certainly.
Thank you. Is there any other general public comment? John?
Before I speak, I'm going to be talking about another series of numbers, and I'm going to cut off the last three, so I would use the word more than or more, so there'll be no misunderstandings. My name is John Kennefic, 234 South Avenue. In regards to countywide transit, I want to run some numbers towards you. This is from your own Battle Creek financial statement in regards to the Battle Creek transit system. Ending June 30th, 2022, taking in fares and advertising, more than $290,000 was taken in that time period, but the operating expense for the bus system was more than $3,629,000. This left a negative amount of money, red ink, of $3,339,000 plus some. From this type of report is an excerpt from Lansing's Capital Area Transportation Authority. In 2021, in regards to taking in fares and advertising, they took in more than $8,272,000. Their operating expenses were more than $62,680,000. That left a loss in 2021, negative, of $407,000. In 2022, while they were operating both for taking in fares and advertisement, they took in more money of more than $10,891,000. Their operating expenses during that time were was $59,839,000, with a net loss during 2022 of $48,947,000. Total for these last 2 years of operating in a loss of red ink for those 2 years was $103,355,000. They're running red ink. If any of you do not know this, a lot of this money comes from the federal government, and just less than 4 days ago, the national debt clock went from $32 trillion that the taxpayers owe to $33 trillion. It jumped, that amount of money. This is your taxpayer dollars at work. I like concepts that work. Unfortunately, 2 of these examples have already showed negative costs to the tune of $100+ million in negative funds. So if you're intending to extend that with your letter, congratulations. The taxpayers will be paying for this. Another cost increase. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other general public comments? Moving on, are there any commission comments? Commissioner Simmons?
I'm hoping staff has access to the schedule for neighborhood planning councils, because I don't have the date and time, but it's my understanding that the Mingus Riverside Neighborhood Planning Council, which hasn't met since before the pandemic, is going to be resurrected, which I'm thrilled about. I've had so many people ask when that was going to get going again. My understanding, they're going to be meeting now at Chapel Hill United Methodist Church later this month, and I don't know if staff can on the fly find that so we can share that with, I should have been more prepared. Ms. Bourgeois talked about the Neighborhood Planning Council, and that reminded me of that. Do we have that?
We're trying to.
Okay.
We're trying to scroll to find that.
Thank you. And maybe we could just do it at the end of comments and meetings if you are able to find that. But I'm planning on being there whenever that is, and I'm glad that there was enough interest in the neighborhood by residents to fill that with members, and then of course non-members are always welcome to come and express concerns about issues in their neighborhood. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to say, Saturday, I got to attend Miles from Memory's 10th walk, and I just wanted to congratulate them for doing for 10 years of some great work of fundraising for Alzheimer's disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commission comments?
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Ballard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Takes me a minute to remember that. I just want to remind our citizens, or people that drive up and down the street, that the street is not a trash can. We have, if you go to the old Restore building, which was the paint shop, or paint giveaway shop on Michigan Avenue, I've got pictures, I showed them to the manager. There has to be 30 fast food plastic bags thrown out, just thrown out the window. And I don't see how this never gets caught, or if it does, doesn't get reported. But you talk about saving money, and here we have to expend money to go pick up trash that you should be putting in your own trash. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any other commission comments? And Rebecca, have we been successful in finding a date?
Yeah, Rebecca, I am seeing an email here that was sent to me. We should probably confirm this, but it says September 27th at 7 p.m.
I haven't seen it yet.
We will
I haven't
confirm
seen
it.
any kind of like formal agenda or notice or anything like that. So 7 p.m. And I know for a fact that will be at the Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. So that's the location. So
We'll confirm and make sure that we send out the schedule for all NPC to the commissioners.
Are the NPC meetings on the city calendar anywhere? On the city's website?
They have been, but since some were dormant, some have not. I'm not sure that's completely updated.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that the NPCs that have been meeting, those schedules are on the city's website.
Okay.
thank you.
Any other commission comments? Seeing none, we will recess for a closed session. Is reconvening after our closed session. Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes, I have a motion to approve the recommendation by the city attorney in a closed session in case of Hollis versus John Jefferson.
Jeff Johnson.
I'm sorry, Jeff Johnson. Motion to approve the September 19, 2022 closed session minutes.
That needs to be a separate.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Oh, I should probably say.
Your support's right
So
Support.
So, it's been moved and supported to accept the recommendation from the city attorney. Is there commission comment? Seeing none, would you please vote?
Sorry, I logged out of this.
I logged out already.
Vote yes.
Okay. Commissioner Ballard?
No.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ballard just confused me. Yes.
The motion is adopted. Commissioner Reynolds, you have another motion to make?
I do. Another motion to approve the September 19, 2023 closed session meeting minutes.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the closed session meeting minutes from September 19th. Is there any commission discussion? Seeing none, would you please vote?
I need a moment to create.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Sorry
sorry.
about that.
It's all right.
We're moving a little fast.
Okay. Commissioner Ballard?
No. I'm sorry, yes. Yes for the minutes.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Thank you.
The minutes have been approved. With there being no further business to come before the commission tonight, we are adjourned.